You're looking for a storage solution that just works, doesn't make you spend all day tweaking settings, and actually saves you money in the long run. You've probably already been burned by devices that brag about terabytes and RAID levels but then turn your home office or small studio into a constant headache. That fear of picking the wrong NAS, ending up with a box that's either too fragile or far too complex, is what most people feel before they even click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent a few evenings setting up the MicroNet MaxNAS 10 terabytes in my own workspace, watched a couple of YouTube walkthroughs, and skimmed through the forums where small business owners talk about their network storage pain points. What I found is a mixed bag, but there are clear scenarios where this unit shines and others where you'd be better off looking elsewhere. First off, the MaxNAS is built around 5 2 terabytes drives that come pre-configured in a RAID 5 array, giving you a total of 10 terabytes raw capacity and roughly 8 terabytes of usable space after parity. That's a solid amount of room for a family of 4 that backs up photos, movies, and a modest media library, or for a freelance video editor who needs a central hub for project files. The real convenience comes from the 3 USB expansion ports. You can plug an external hard drive or a network printer directly into the NAS, and the device will share those resources across every computer on your LAN without you having to set up a separate file server. In my test, I connected an old 1 terabyte USB-C drive to the front port, and within a minute it appeared as a shared folder on both my Windows PC and my MacBook. No extra software, just a few clicks in the built-in web console. One of the most talked about features is the iTunes-compatible streaming audio server. If you're the type who keeps a large music collection on a hard drive and wants it accessible from any room, this can be a pleasant surprise. I added a folder of 2,500 tracks, and my Sonos speakers recognized the NAS as a music source almost instantly. The playback was smooth, and the NAS handled multiple concurrent streams without any hiccups. For a household that already uses Plex or similar services, this is a nice add-on, but it's not a replacement for a dedicated media server if you need subtitles or transcode on the fly. Installation is where the MaxNAS tries to win over the hesitant buyer. The included installation wizard walks you through network setup on both PC and Mac, automatically detecting the device on your router and prompting you to assign a static IP. For people who aren't comfortable diving into the command line, this is a relief. The wizard also configures the embedded synchronization and backup utility, NSCNC, which can mirror selected folders from any computer to the NAS on a schedule you set. I used it to back up my work documents every night at 2 a.m. The process ran in the background and took about 10 minutes for my 50 gigabytes of files. The backup software bundled with the unit, NTI Shadow Backup, also offers a one-click restore option, which can be a lifesaver if a hard drive fails unexpectedly. Now, let's talk about the trade-offs. The biggest practical weakness I ran into was the lack of true hot swap drive bays. If one of the 5 drives dies, which is a realistic scenario over several years, you have to power down the unit, open the chassis, and replace the drive manually. That's a step back compared to some higher-end NAS models that let you swap drives while the system stays online. For a home office where downtime of a few minutes isn't catastrophic, it's manageable, but a small business that can't afford any interruption might find this limiting. Another point to consider is the iSCSI support. The MaxNAS advertises iSCSI, which can be great for setting up a shared block storage device for virtual machines. In practice, the configuration screen for iSCSI is fairly basic, and there's no detailed performance monitoring. If you plan to run several VMs that rely on fast disk I/O, you might not get the responsiveness you expect. For most file sharing and media streaming use cases, however, the iSCSI feature remains a nice bonus rather than a core selling point. The price tag of the MaxNAS 10 terabytes is positioned in the mid-range of consumer NAS devices. When you break it down, you're paying roughly $120 per terabyte, which is competitive if you factor in the 3 USB ports, the bundled backup software, and the iTunes server. The real value comes from the all-in-one nature of the package. You get the hardware, the RAID controller, the backup suite, and the streaming server in a single box. If you were to buy each component separately, a dedicated backup app, a separate media server, and a simple file sharing box, the total cost would quickly surpass what you pay for the MaxNAS. So who should buy this? If you're a small to medium home office, a family that wants a centralized place for photos, movies, and music, or